Hello, church. So here's our devotional for Monday, May 18th. As we roll right along through May, we got some air quality warnings and I think a heat index warning going on too. So it's warm. I'm not going to pan down, but yes, I'm in a t-shirt and shorts right now while we do some work getting a couple of things put up in the library. We continue today with our readings from Ecclesiastes. We'll be concluding the first chapter with verses 12 to 18, if I remember right, and a couple of the neat portions from Towner. We set up last time, so we're going to be, for the NRSV, we're going to be hearing the phrase, the teacher. Sometimes you will see it in Ecclesiastes as the preacher. Peterson goes with the quester, and the Hebrew word is koheleth and does start with the Q. So there's some a little bit of alliteration for Peterson in there. And here we go. I, the teacher, when king over Israel and Jerusalem, applied my mind to seek and to search out by wisdom all that is done under heaven. It is an unhappy business that God has given to human beings to be busy with. I saw all the deeds that are done under the sun and see all is vanity and a chasing after wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. I said to myself, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me. And my mind has had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. And I applied my mind to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this is also but a chasing after wind. For in much wisdom is much vexation, and those who increase knowledge increase sorrow. Little bit of reflection from Towner. And this is actually going to be his concluding paragraph in the reflection part, and I'll throw a story your way as we're going through. In any case, the entire effort comes to naught, and he's talking about the seeking of knowledge here. Perhaps the closing proverb of the passage from the NIV, the more knowledge, the more grief, was originally meant to be taken quite literally. If the cane was used liberally in school, the educational process might truly have been painful. Little pause there. So I took fencing when I was in college at Chapel Hill for 2 semesters for my physical education requirement. My instructor was a pretty phenomenal fencer and athlete and had a really solid program started at Carolina. He trained with the Hungarian, and one of the things you have to train in for fencing is called pronation. And so you have to direct your knees in a somewhat uncomfortable and fairly unnatural way to do the footwork. That's the foundation of fencing. And this Hungarian instructor, if he saw their knee dripping in, dropping in and not being correctly pronated, he would take, I think, his saber. It was either foil, saber, and epee are the weapons. And he wouldn't jab. He would use the broadside and just smack him right in the thigh. Pretty darn hard. So yes, learning can hurt is a painful reminder there. Thankfully, my instructor did not continue that practice while he was teaching his classes. We continue. Kohelet radicalizes the teaching, however. The wiser one becomes, the more troubled and unhappy one is. Nevertheless, he pushes on. The reflection. It is true that what is by nature crooked cannot be made straight. Who would want to live in a world that was any different than that? To say that something that is absent can nevertheless be counted present would be to say that the world is unreliable and crazy. However, things that should not be crooked are or absent are, and people want to know why. The intellectual restlessness God placed in human beings that causes them to search for answers to such as why, to such why questions is not a happy dimension of life. That continued pursuit. Why not quit school then and just remain innocent? After all, the more knowledge, the more grief. The notion has had echoes in traditional thinking ever since, where ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise, and from ignorance our comfort flows, the only wretched are the wise. Yet the heart resists such a conclusion. A modern writer answered these counsels of despair with the aphorism, ignorance is not bliss, it is oblivion. Even though the quest of the teacher king led him close to embracing ignorance, in the end, he too cannot reject wisdom. And from Eugene Peterson's, and he entitles this portion as we conclude Ecclesiastes chapter 1, I've seen it all. Good folksy turn of phrase. Call me the quester. I've been king over Israel and Jerusalem. I looked most carefully into everything, searched out all that is done on this earth, and let me tell you, there's not much to write home about. God hasn't made it easy for us. I've seen it all, and it's nothing but smoke and spitting into the wind. Life's a corkscrew that can't be straightened, a minus that won't add up. I said to myself, I know more and I'm wiser than anyone before me in Jerusalem. I've stockpiled wisdom and knowledge. What I've finally concluded is that so-called wisdom and knowledge are mindless and witless, nothing but spitting into the wind. Much learning earns you trouble. The more you know, the more you hurt. For any of my younger parishioners who might be watching this and hoping to quote Ecclesiastes and explaining to your parents why you're no longer doing homework or attending school, hear your pastor say, no, do your work. For all of us. All right, so that concludes Ecclesiastes 1 as we continue our journey in the paradox of wisdom literature, and we will see you tomorrow for our next go around. Have a great day.